Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Sports Shorts Daily, presented by LeBears Casino. TK joining us on this Monday morning edition over at Court Street Cafe in Port Allen, downtown Port Allen, just 5 minutes across the Mississippi River Bridge from downtown Baton Rouge. I am at an undisclosed location presented by the Louisiana Sports Hall of Fame. Go to lasportshall.com and get your tickets now. This is going to be sold out late June 20th through 22nd, up in Natchitoches. 7 events over 3 days. Louisiana Sports Hall of Fame induction ceremony featuring Daniel Cormier, Simone Augustus, Drew Brees, and many others. And, of course, we're presented by LeBears Casino, where we were over at LeBears Casino this past weekend, popped in there, made a few bets on the NCAA men's tournament, and a lot of great stuff. Tonight at LeBears, there's no better place to be than at that sports book where you can watch the games. You go to the betting window. You got all the kiosks. You got the blackjack tables, giant screens everywhere, great food, got lazy boy sofas and chairs and all that around. You can watch LSU and Iowa women's basketball, which will be the highest rated game of the year. No question about it. I can't wait to see what the numbers are. There's so many storylines nationally that even if you're just a casual fan, you're interested in this game. It's a rematch of the national championship from a year ago. Tommy Chrysan joining us. TK, a lot to get to today. I'll throw out the topics, let you start where you want to land. LSU's baseball team gets swept on the road at Arkansas. They are 2-7. That is not a mistake. 2-7. That is not an error. They are 2-7. Okay. LSU's women, they take care of business. They do sweep. The softball team continues to roll on. The Pels drop one to the Celtics. They're 2-1 in their 6-game homestand. 3 more to go. NCAA tournament. There's officially madness. 11 seed NC State in the Final Four. Remember LSU basketball back in the day, 1986 was an 11 seed, ended up in the Final Four in Dallas. You've got LSU, women's basketball. We know that South Carolina's still undefeated. They're headed to the Final Four. We know that NC State, a 3 seed, is headed to the Final Four in women's basketball. Remember, back in the day, 2006, LSU's men and women once played in the Final Four. That hasn't happened very many times. We've done it a few times over the years. Of course, Duke has done it with the great Elena Beard back in the day with Louisiana Sports Hall of Famer. But TK, where do you want to go first?
Wow, man, so many things to get to. I guess we got to go with LSU Iowa. I agree with you. It's going to be the most watched women's basketball game of all time. ESPN platform. Tip's going to be right after 6 p.m. The whole story with Caitlin Clark, Kim Mulkey, Angel Reese, FloJo. It's just storylines galore. And, all eyes are going to be on it. It's going to be watched from coast to coast, from north to south. Everybody's going to be watching this game to see what happens. Angel Reese comes out over the weekend, says we do not hate each other, meaning Caitlin Clark, but reiterated what she's always said: when it's time to play the game. And we've all been through this. We played against friends in college. When it's time to play the game, you play the game. You're not friends anymore, and you shake hands after the game. And people don't realize that Caitlin Clark's probably the biggest trash talker in college basketball. We got the video clips. We've seen it. Reporters who've been courtside have talked about it. So it's not something that's unique to LSU or any other team, South Carolina, whatever you want to say. But certainly the nation's eyes, especially women's basketball fans and basketball fans, will be watching LSU Iowa. By the way, Iowa a 2-point favorite in this game. LSU won by 17 a year ago tomorrow. It was April 2 last year when they won the national championship, 102-85. It was kind of just go through the motions the last couple of minutes of the game. So that's the last time they played. Everybody was hoping they would play in the postseason this year. And here they are in Albany, New York, of all places, trying to punch a ticket to the Final Four, which the women's Final Four is in Cleveland this year. So looking forward to see what happens with that.
Weird deal. Albany's got 2 regionals. So they Albany 1, Albany 2 regional up there. This LSU basketball team, in my opinion, isn't as good as last year's team. They had more firepower from the 3-point range. They have hardly any, other than Johnson's gotten hot lately in the last 5-6 games, where she's been able to stroke some threes. But that's traditionally not really, last year they had, a couple of people could come off the bench. I mean, they had 3 or 4 people that could shoot beyond the arc. They don't have that this year. Alexis Morris, who played the point last year, was faster than Van Leith. I felt like she was more disruptive than Van Leith. Van Leith may make good decisions, may play good defense. She's not hasn't been, but a couple times a really much of a scorer, and she is just not as dynamic, I don't think. And oh, by the way, Alexis didn't make an NBA roster. She's playing in the Harlem Globetrotters. So, I mean, that gives you an idea how tough the next level is. I mean, it's a world game. We know that in men's game. It's also that way in the women's game, and not as many teams. So, I mean, it's a hard roster to make. But, yeah, it's going to be a fantastic game. I'm glad they're getting a chance to play each other. I wish it would have been in the Final Four, but hey, here it is. LSU is going to get an opportunity. I mean, it's a bigger game than just a rematch of the national championship game. It's a bigger game than just Caitlin Clark versus Angel Reese, because of this whole Washington Post article thing that came out on Saturday while we were doing Sports Shorts Radio live from Fat Daddies and Plaquemine. It broke right at the beginning of the show. This spotlight on Kim Mulkey, whether you like her, whether you hate her, and the reasons therefore have topic of conversation over the last week and a half. That's added a lot more. And I say, Tommy, what was your reaction now that you've had a chance, a couple days to digest? It's been 48 hours since the article came out. What's your reaction now to not only Mulkey's reaction 9 days ago to the potential article where she threatened lawsuit and lawyers and all this stuff, but also now that the article's come out and the reaction in the last couple days?
Well, I want to point out something Glenn Gilbo, who writes for Outkick.com, mentioned on Sports Shorts Radio this past Saturday when he joined us with short notice. And he said, we may never know this, but that article may have shifted gears a little bit after Kim Mulkey had her press conference and said she hired defamation attorneys. He said, we'll never know, but it's very possible, and you couldn't don't rule it out, that it maybe shifted gears a little bit. Because once we read the article, I don't think it had anything in there that the people in Louisiana, maybe the people in Baylor, Texas, that didn't know already. There was really nothing in there. It's basically summed up by, Kim Mulkey is Kim Mulkey. She is an elite coach, and she can do what she wants. She doesn't really care what other people think. Never has, never will. Back to her days at Hammond High School, didn't care what people said or wanted to think. So, then the LA Times walked back their article, changed some of the comments in there. It kind of told people around the country a little bit more about Kim Mulkey, who probably didn't know a lot about Kim Mulkey other than the 3 titles at Baylor, the title at LSU, and, gold medal. I mean, people that follow women's basketball do the story. But your peripheral basketball fans now know a lot about Kim Mulkey. And, as Dan Patrick said this morning, she's not a lot different than Bobby Knight, Bill Belichick, Pat Summitt, Gino Auriemma, coaches who do what they do. Nick Saban, they coach, and they don't really care what you think or do. They're doing everything they can to, A, protect their players, and B, in this case, win basketball games and win championships and win titles. And, Ronnie, you and I are among the people of 5-6 weeks ago didn't think this was a Final Four team. Well, they're 40 minutes away from being a Final Four team. Which surprises me. I did not doubt they'd win the first couple of games of the tournament. They got that much talent. And the women's tournament, there's a lot of chalk involved. You got 1 and 3, playing twice tonight, actually. So I'm not bothered by the article. Again, I remember what Glenn Gilbo said. It's possible that thing could have shifted gears after her press conference.
Yeah, shifting gears, meaning it could have been edited and a lot of the juicier stuff taken out.
That's what I mean, yeah.
They were concerned. Another article came out, this one, a column article written by the Los Angeles Times that called the LSU women's basketball team the Dirty Debutantes. That has since been retracted. That statement has since been retracted from the article, and that got a lot of attention after the game, after LSU won. It wasn't so much a conversation about the Washington Post as much as it was a conversation about the term dirty debutantes that came in an article in Los Angeles. We know the UCLA coach who retweeted the article a couple days, before the game, yesterday retracted and said, "Hey, I apologize. I should not have retweeted. I didn't read the article. I just saw the headlines." And the ultimate gotcha is LSU beating UCLA. So now you get to shut up that coach. You get to shut up the Los Angeles Times. Kim Mulkey, I thought for a lot of her pontification rants and things she's done over the years at microphones, at press conferences, I thought the one on the Los Angeles Times article in the Dirty Debutantes was actually spot on. I thought that was well done by her. I thought she didn't go too far off the rails. She made a good point. It was something that shouldn't have been said. It's ridiculous talking about women's basketball teams, and we're talking about, and then for you to make it, to stretch it and make it be use that term and good versus evil, that kind of thing, is just ridiculous. So I thought her press conference about the Dirty Debutantes thing after the game was really well done.
Well, and the other thing too is let's keep in mind the article in the Washington Post was written by a South Carolina graduate and a LA Times, a UCLA graduate who's in the way of a national championship for LSU. The other day UCLA was, now they're not. And South Carolina would be, provided, things happen tonight and next week in Cleveland. So, you can draw your own conclusions on that. But, Ronnie, the bottom line is this is magnifying women's basketball. I had somebody make an interesting point to me. This is helping bring attention to the game, kind of like in the old days when you went to a hockey match, you wanted to see a fight. When everybody talked to Sports Center, went with the fight highlights first before the score. I don't want to call it championship wrestling, but their theatrics draw attention to the sport. And some are saying that all these theatrics are drawing attention to the sport. But, it's all about marketing. It's all about viewership and ratings. And, this is bringing attention to women's basketball, which has always been around, obviously. Well, not forever, but for many decades. And we'll see. Again, tonight, I feel sorry for the LSU baseball team. They're not going to have a lot of people in the stands at Alec Box tonight, and not going to be a lot of people watching you and Lynn Rollins on the stream and listening on the radio, because the attention is going to be, because LSU baseball is 6:30. Basketball is going to tip about 6:15. There'll be a lot of people at the box with their phone on watching Kim Mulkey's team.
Well, the good news is that the basketball game will end before the baseball game's over. And also, if you're watching at home or a sports bar or wherever you're at LeBears, you can watch it on the big screen, the basketball game. On your phone, you can watch the baseball game. LSU baseball, I think they might be okay, Tommy, with people not watching that game tonight. Like, the less people that are talking about the troubles of baseball right now. Jay Johnson's loving Kim Mulkey winning. He wants her to continue winning so that people don't worry about LSU baseball for a couple weeks. They get excited about maybe another Final Four run for the women, because right now things are brutal. Things are bad. Things are ugly. And, oh, by the way, the old saying they might get worse before they get better is true. The next 2 weeks, you got Vandy at home, Tennessee on the road. That's 6 games, and probably, Jay would have told you before the season that if they went 3-3 in those 6, he would be happy. He would take it. And 3-3 in those 6, by the way, would make LSU 5-10 in the first games in the SEC. And that's unlikely that they're going to go 3-3. So, at best, probably looking at 5-10 first 15 games in the SEC. Great at math, but my math education tells me if you go 5-10 in your first 15 games in the SEC, Tommy, you got to go 10-5. The next 15 to go 15-15, and hope that that's enough to get to host a regional. Not as a top 8 national seed, no way. But 15-15 in this league this year, as hard as it is, and all the teams ranked and all that. That might be enough to host a regional. A lot of years it's not, but this year it might be.
Yeah, well, we'll have to see. Hey, a little footnote.
LSU's got to go 13-8 in their 13-8 in their next 21 games to go 15-15. Mind you, they're 2-7.
Hey, a footnote on tonight's game. I got an NIL deal here with DeLong's Supermarket. down in Santa Maria Central Parish. The owner of the supermarket, Craig St. Pierre, will throw out the first pitch tonight for the LSU Southern game. So tip of the hat to Craig. He's a great friend. Got the NIL deal with TK. We're wearing the DeLong supermarket shirt on Monday. So we hope he throws a strike tonight.
They do know that you have that shirt and all that, right? I mean, you didn't take that off of like a worker over there at the grocery store.
No. Craig and I are partners. And, in fact, he wanted some advice on throwing the first pitch tonight. You want to know what I told him, bro? It's good advice. Aim a little higher than you think you have to aim. Right. Aim it right above the catcher's head, and try to land it in the mitt. Because if not, you're gonna one hop it. So you're gonna have to give me the report on how Craig does with the first pitch tonight out at LSU at the Bombers.
Look, the bottom line is if you ever throw a first pitch, two things you need to know. One, throw the pitch from the rubber. Don't throw it in front of the dirt. Put your foot on that in front of that rubber and throw it from the rubber. And if anything, throw it up the backstop. Just don't bounce it. Just whatever you do. All right, so LSU women, we'll talk more about it on Wednesday, the big showdown. Listen, I mean, look at that side of the bracket. Caitlin Clark versus Angel Reese, arguably the top two names in women's basketball. And whoever wins is going to be either Caitlin or Angel versus Juju Watkins, the biggest name, the next biggest name in women's basketball, the freshman for USC, who's a superstar.
Well, and there's a player at UConn, Gino Auriemma, their coach, says is the best player in the country. He doesn't talk about Reese, Clark, or Watkins. It's Buckers or something is her name. He says she's the best player in the country. Now, coaches are always going to back their players and prop them up. We get that. But certainly, again, the women's basketball tournament, not just tonight, but this coming weekend in Cleveland, more attention than it's ever gotten before. And that's some marquee names in the history of women's basketball, including Simone Augustus, who will go into the Louisiana Sports Hall of Fame this summer. So there's been some serious marquee names. But this year, there's lots of marquee names, and the TV ratings will be through the roof. Tonight will be the most watched game in the history of women's basketball when LSU plays Iowa.
Gino needs to relax. Caitlin Clark is the best women's basketball player in college basketball, no doubt about it. Relax. Not to say that others are great and maybe somebody's going to be better than her one day, but all you need to know is she was offered $5 million by the 3-on-3 league to play
10 games.
What's that?
Play 10 games, $5 million.
Right. That's all you need to know. They didn't offer Angel Reese. They didn't offer Juju Watkins. They offered her $5 million to play. She's holding an offer for $5 million to play in their league. If that doesn't tell you that she moves the meter and that she's the greatest basketball player, there's nothing to talk about. There's nothing to. They're not offering anybody in the WNBA currently $5 million or $2.5 million to play in the league. So stop it with all this. She's not the best. Angel's better. Like Jason Ramazan, one of the friends of mine, he wanted to tell me how Angel Reese is going to move the meter just as much or more than Clark. No. Clark, when she goes to the WNBA or the 3-on-3 league or any league, she could go to the TCL, Texas Collegiate League, play second for the Rougarou. We'd love to have that. She is going to move the meter. She is going to sell out things. She's going to sell sweets. She's going to get ratings. She is the brand of women. She is the female version of Steph Curry, which that plays right now in the game. It's not about the post players anymore. Nobody cares about Boston and Reese. They're great players. It's about the guard, just like in the NBA. There are no centers anymore that matter. It's all about guard play, and she is phenomenal. All right, LSU baseball today. Tonight, they've got to get back on the winning track, Tommy. Over the weekend, it was ugly. It was brutal. They walked just about a batter per inning, almost a batter per inning this past weekend. They had 11 on Friday, 5 on Saturday, 11 in the first game, 5 in the second game, 7 walks in the last game. Lack of timely hitting. They got a few hits. They had a few nice things happen, but they have struggled this year with runners on base getting that timely hit. Yes, we know Tommy White hit a liner to end the game, and that's bad fortune, but you didn't hit enough liners, because if you hit enough liners, they fall, and it's just been a brutal stretch. And I'm curious, what makes coaches great is how do you get out of the funk? when you do all the things you know to do, when you know how to recruit and you got good players and you know how to get good coaches and you know how to make sure they go to class and you know how to, to structure practices and you know how to teach hitting and it doesn't work, what do you do? And that's what we're going to find out because only the greats, one, they don't really get into the funks too often, but when they do, they get their teams out of it. So I'm very curious to watch and see what Jay Johnson does to get this team out of this funk that is not playing great and unfortunately playing great teams at the moment.
Yeah, I mean, that's going to be good to watch. Now, Ryan, let me ask you this question. How much weight might you put in the pre-conference schedule not being real strong other than a matchup with Texas and a decent Raging Cajun team and a decent Texas State team on the road? There's some people saying, well, maybe they should have played a tougher non-conference schedule. And he tinkered with the lineup so much then trying to get some questions answered that maybe a tougher schedule and get a lineup going. And I don't know. It's hindsight's 2020. I get that, but there could be something to be said for that. But also, you played Florida, number 5 team in the country. You played Arkansas, the number 1 team in the country. But you won 1 out of those 6 games in that particular those 2 series. So I don't know. Again, it's easy to coach after the fact, but I think there's something to be said for that.
I do agree. I mean, again, what is my history? What is my background? Who was my mentor? What do I know? Okay, I played for the legend back in the early 90s, and he had the philosophy of being battle tested. I want to play a hard 3-game series, on a road or neutral field prior to the start of SEC play. I want to play a couple of, a good series to get battle tested. They did play a neutral series on the road in Houston and played well over there. It wasn't really neutral. It was a home series. It was over on the road, but those were 3 good games. The rest of the teams, I mean, Xavier had a 7 or 9 ERA. Everybody else, everybody that came in to play them, North Dakota State, they all had 7+ ERAs. I mean, they were not good teams. So, I don't know. So I do think that could be some of it. The other thing is that Jay probably knows way better than me because, again, a guy makes millions of dollars and he this is what he does. But he's probably realized, hey, we got to get to 40 wins. That's a big more our brand name, 40 wins, our league. That puts us in a region. His first job is to guarantee his team makes the postseason. Then you worry about what you got to do to host, what you got to do to be a top 8 national seed. And I'm sure in his mind, he's like, I got to make sure I have a certain number of gross wins. I need to have the big number so that LSU always is in postseason so that the committee has no reason when they look over there and they see that team's got 40 wins, even though they might be 13-17 or 14-16 in the league, worst case scenario, I can put them into the tournament, no problem. And that's probably a lot of the thinking, as opposed to really being battle tested.
Yeah, well, time will tell on that. Again, we've said this, everybody said this, the back half of the SEC schedule is much easier than the front half, but as Carl pointed out, I mean, Wake Forest got swept by North Carolina this weekend. So conference play is tough no matter what conference you're in. I don't care if it's the Southland, the Sun Belt, Conference USA, FCC, ACC. It's tough to line up and win a baseball game. It's all about who's on the bump, and there's a lot of good pitchers in the country.
LSU's got to go 13-8. In their next 21 games just to be 500 for the season in the SEC. Something to watch. All right. What else we got, TK, in the world of sports? The Pellies got blown out by the Celtics on Saturday. They've got 3 more home games left to go down the stretch. So get on out there and pull for them. Men's basketball NCAA tournament. Cinderella is alive and well in NC State. They're easy to pull for.
Yeah, the Final Four is set for the men. That'll be in Phoenix. UConn, 11.5-point favorite over Alabama. And then you got Purdue, an 8.5-point favorite over NC State. That's your semifinals is coming Saturday. So, yeah, NC State is the Cinderella story, the 11th seed, and their women making the Final Four. Now, UConn can also accomplish that. You mentioned the Pelicans. Suns are a 1.5 favorite in New Orleans tonight. And I've watched a lot of Major League Baseball, a whole lot of MLB. that I watched over the weekend around the LSU game and whatnot. So we'll see about that. And Ronnie, speaking of baseball, we're less than 2 months away from the opener of Baton Rouge Rougarou on May the 30th in Baton Rouge against Lake Charles. We'll certainly get you more information on that as we go forward. But again, as Ronnie always says, go to brrougarou.com, get your season tickets, get your merchandise. brrougarou.com. Big golf tournament coming up on May 6th out at Greystone. So the Rougarou are coming. It's right around the corner now that we're into the month of April.
That's right. Just go to brrougarou.com. You can sign up for the golf tournament. $600 for a foursome or $150 per golfer I think it's $150. I'm not sure. Maybe $175. But $600 for a foursome, and it's either a 3-man team paired with a celebrity or a 4-man team with no celebrity. And it's the proceeds will benefit the Baton Rouge Youth Baseball Coalition, a brand new nonprofit. We'll tell you more about it as we get closer. But the Baton Rouge Youth Baseball Coalition will be the beneficiary of the funds raised for the Baton Rouge Rougarou golf tournament. So looking forward to that. Mark your calendar. There'll be a 10 a.m. tee time on Monday, May the 6th. What else we got, TK, before we get out of here?
That's about it. Like I said, I've been watching a lot of Major League Baseball, and we'll get more into that as the weeks go by. So a lot of sports happen. Masters comes up, not this week, but next. So a lot of sports stuff happening.
Yeah, tough weekend for Aaron Nola, the $175 million man. Didn't make it past the 5th, gave up 12 hits, a bunch of runs. It was a tough first outing for him over there in Philadelphia. But hey, it's guaranteed, TK. It's guaranteed $175 million, guaranteed. It doesn't matter if he's as good as Ronnie Rance the rest of his contract. Still getting the full $175. Woo! You got to love Major League Baseball. TK, tell us about Court Street Cafe as we get out of here.
Breakfast, lunch, and dinner here at Court Street Cafe. Jason and the staff do a super job. Full service bar. You want a little drink on the way home. Just a couple of minutes over the Mississippi River Bridge. If you're in downtown Baton Rouge, it's probably less time to come eat at Court Street Cafe. 805 Court Street in Port Allen. They got a patio out front, plenty of parking available. We want you to check them out. A great way to keep up with Court Street Cafe is connect on Facebook and Instagram. They're constantly posting lunch specials, dinner specials, drink specials, live music stuff. It's all at Court Street Cafe in Port Allen. Hey, don't forget to like and share this show. That helps out everybody involved, all the partners, all the sponsors, Ronnie and I, and all the guests we have. So like and share this show. We'll talk to you again Wednesday morning with another edition of Sports Shorts Daily. I'm Tommy Price saying have a good day, everyone.